So, uh, eminent speakers of the day, Shelja, Mudit, Anirudh, Aparajita, Dr. Arvind, and ladies and gentlemen, namaskar to all of you. So I really welcome all of you on this power pack session of the increasing sales through business analytics. You are all aware of that sales, how important sales is in any business organization. So now I would like to have quick thoughts from your side, because in my view, the sales part is having the highest priority in any business organization. Now, what is your thought about that? Just write yes or no in the chat box. Do you agree with my statement? In my view, sales is the most important part in any business organization. And I think if you have seen the profit and loss account of any business organization, you will find on the right side, there is only and only broadly one head is their sales. There are a lot of heads on the left hand side of the profit and loss account. So essentially, those heads are also very important to deliver the sales. But on the right hand side, you will see only one head, that is sales. All your cash inflow primarily and predominantly comes to sales only in any business organization. So just write in the chat box whether you agree with my statement or no. Yes or no. Yes or no. Just write in the chat box, please. Do you agree with my statement? Sales is having the highest priority in any business organization. Okay. So I'm glad that all of participants are fully agree with my statement. So now, before I go ahead, I would like to have one very quick poll. So you know that apart from sales, there are other areas also in any business organization. So I just want to have some quick insights from your side, that in which areas business analytics you think can help you. So it is accelerating sales, optimizing costs, improving cash flows, or all of the above. So what is your idea? Just give your opinion through this poll. There are four options you can see on your screen. Just use the option which you wish out of four options, which in your opinion is the most suitable option as per your opinion. Still some participants are remaining. Please participate, because our speakers are eagerly seeing all these kind of responses. So please give some energy to our speakers. They are very super speakers. I can say they are very having the one of its kind of excellent knowledge in their areas. And on this weekend they are devoting their precious time just to share their knowledge and thoughts. Just please participate in this poll. Out of four options, okay. So I'm just ending the poll. Just giving 2 or 3 seconds more. Okay. Shalja, are you able to see the poll on your screen?
Yeah, I am.
There seems to be some kind of problem. It is not showing the final results.
It says 94% all of the above. Should I share the results? What should I do?
You can share, because in my screen it is not showing.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I'm sharing the results. I hope you can see now. Wait, share results. Let me see.
No, you can just tell, whatever results are there, you can just tell, because I'm
Yeah.
sharing screen and I will go ahead with this PPT. You just
Yeah,
share.
so it is all of the above. Like 94% say all of the above.
Great.
Then yeah, like other three options, 10% each.
Yeah.
Some people, yeah.
The intent behind this poll is that we have planned to conduct multiple seminars in various areas. So I was just interested to know the insight from the audience, that how important they think that business analytics can play a role in other areas of business as well. So it is really great
Yeah.
to have you in the insight. So, as you are aware of, this particular program is being conducted under the auspices of the Bharatiya Global MSME Forum. So, Bharatiya Global MSME Forum is a premium platform established with the prime objective of giving a boost to micro, small, and medium enterprises across the country. Our theme and our mission is that how we can transform MSMEs into MNC. So, this is the main mission and theme for which Bharatiya Global MSME Forum is working. And we organize various activities and training programs to impart knowledge and skills that help scale MSMEs and make them globally competitive. Our services are focused towards making MSMEs more innovative, market oriented, competitive, and customer focused to move up in the global value chain. CFO for SME is knowledge partner for today event. So I would like to share a brief about CFO for SME. The CFO for SME offers a level of expertise in designing, developing, and delivering financial and management consulting solutions to clients suited to their specific needs across a wide spectrum of industries at all stages of businesses, that is, startups as well as SMEs. It helps clients to turn their business idea into reality and achieve their business vision right from startup to scaling up. So today program, as you are aware of, that business analytics is a delivering improvements in growth, efficiency, effectiveness, and the focus is that how you can extract the relevant information. So my dear friend, this is most important because data is a very blank, area. Data is a huge area, and sometimes back we got one program conducted under Indian Society of Management Accountants, where Dr. Southkill from Canada has been invited. So he shared his thoughts that in every 8 hours, the data is being doubled. So that is the speed of data. The data is doubling into that is such a phenomenal speed. So now to extract the right information or right data is extremely very tedious job. And today, in today's session, our data analytics experts are going to share with you importance of data analytics and the performance and the tools, how they can, they are will share some thoughts where you can, have some ideas to boosting your sales and increase your sales performance. So I take this liberty to quickly share my brief profile. So by profession, I'm a CMA, Company Secretary, Certified Corporate Director, and Ambulance of IIM Calcutta. And I have worked over 30 years in various companies at the level of the Vice President, CFO, CEO, Director. And I have been instrumental in raising funding for bigger projects. And as of now, I'm engaged as a chief mentor of Jan Venture Consulting. So under this vertical for profit, we have three verticals. One is the CFO services for SMEs and startups. Another CFO services for infra and real estate. And third vertical is the cost and management consulting. And I'm also associated with the various socio-economic initiatives like Bharatiya Global MSME Forum, Indian Society of Management Accountants, Young Entrepreneurs Network, Indian Data Forum. And I'm also helping some startups that how they can achieve sustainability and scalability of their business. So I'm working with them in the capacity of mentor. So I have the great pleasure to share the brief profile of my uh, eminent speakers of the today program. So Shalja Gupta is a keynote speaker and an expert in analytics. She has been awarded India's most inspiring women managers by Inside IM. She is the president of IM Community, a 5,000 plus IM alumni strong association. She regularly appears in analytics related videos on IM Community YouTube channels and has given guest lectures in various colleges on analytics. She is ex-Samsung and currently working as analytics manager in Strides Pharma. She is an alumnus of IM Indore and recipient of Academic Excellence Award from IM Indore. She has also been rewarded by the Chief Minister of Delhi. Our next speaker is Mudit Jain. Mudit Jain is a business consultant with entrepreneurial passion who add value to his clients' business by asking the right questions with a client-first attitude. He helps clients to transform their business through various levels like automation, AI, data analytics, RPA, machine learning, digital transformation, agile DevOps, and business process improvements. He is a startup enthusiast who helps budding entrepreneurs early stage startups and small business owners in ideation, growth strategy, sales enablement, marketing, business process improvement, customer delight, etc. He has also been recognized as a young leader by Economic Times and CEB at the National Talent Search Program, Economic Times Young Leaders 2016. Over the years, he has held various responsibilities such as business transformation lead, consultant, program manager, solution analyst, founder of Crocodile. He also conducts professional workshops on varied subjects with business strategy, emerging technologies, business transformation, entrepreneurship, startup incubation, marketing and research, and the likes of that. He has also been part of the software developers and business analytics community. Uh, Next to him is the Anirudh Jain. Anirudh Jain is a graduate from MATE Delhi and completed his master's from IIT Roorkee. He has around 5.5 years of experience in the analytics domain. He has worked for multiple clients like Pfizer, Coca-Cola, L'Oreal, and also helped startups to grow in developing their data pipeline to make informed decisions. He has expertise in forecasting and projection models using advanced analytics tools, automation, and live dashboards. Next to him is Aprajita Prasad. Aprajita Prasad is an IIM Ahmedabad alumna. She is a renowned corporate leader and subject matter expert with over 15 years of experience in business research and strategy consulting across Europe and India. She has worked across many companies, including Accenture, TCS, Evaluator, Hedrick, and Struggles, etc. She later joined few startups and contributed to their success. She has led huge teams and headed large business units. Her experience spans across strategy, business research, analytics, and consulting. She is the co-founder and director of MetaConnect Consulting. She is an investor and mentor to startups and on advisory board of many incubators and accelerators. She also takes leadership training sessions and is a well-known speaker and panelist at the major events. Aprajita holds a formidable reputation of adjusting in any environment and bringing out the best in the team. Her value addition has been recognized by her employers and teammates, teammates much sooner than most leaders. She aspires to help anyone and everyone who crosses her path. Aprajita holds a master's in biotechnology from Bangalore University and MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. She is also a certified NLP and life coach. She has been awarded as Prime Donor Woman of Substance and Peter Drucker Memorial Award of Excellence for her contribution. So apart from speakers, eminent speakers, we also have expert Dr. Amren Kumar, who will share MSME perspective because the today program is focusing more of the MSME. So he will share after the deliberation of our 4 speakers. So he will also share his insights on the MSME perspective. Dr. Arvind Kumar, President of ISMA, he is a fellow CMA, doctorate in project finance and appraisal, executive program in management from Indian Institute of Science, FDP from IIM Bangalore, also graduated and postgraduate in commerce. He has over total 22 years of postdoctorate and professional experience to his credit in academic and with corporate. He is currently working as a finance advisor in IT MNC based in Bangalore. He has written several articles and research papers and has delivered guest talks, invited for presentation in several leading business schools. His interview was published in newspapers and magazines. He has conducted various MDPs and workshops for corporate professionals. He is recipient of the year 2014 CMA Young Achiever Award of ICAI CMA, honored by Dr. Jitendra Singh, Union Minister of State, Information and Communication from the Prime Minister Office.
Thank you, sir.
Now I am just stop sharing my screen.
Shall I share my screen now?
Yeah, just
Okay.
take the pic of the gallery.
Yeah, sure. You can just let me know, please.
Yeah, now I invite Shelja. Shelja, now
Yeah,
over to you.
sure. I'll just share my screen. Is the screen visible?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, great. So I have kept it in such a way that everybody can understand, but if required, we can go very deep in tech too. Right now, I have mostly, covered the use cases and all. So when you want to drive sales through analytics, what is it that you can do using analytics? You can predict the sales, you can design KPIs. That will totally depend on your business. Whether let's say you want to see the performance of SKUs, so you can have SKU specific KPIs, you can have territory specific KPIs, you can have growth specific KPIs and so on. Then there is account management. So account management in every company which deals with sales, you will have some key accounts most of the times. So and also of course there will be small accounts, so you can see which account is doing well, which account needs more focus and so on. Then pipeline analysis, for example, your sales reps have they will have sales leads at different stages. For example, some leads would be warm, some would be cold. So you can analyze whether one sales reps pipeline, is it, he's very good at, let's say, identifying the leads, but he's not good at converting them. So this will help you to understand where exactly, in which stage is, are most of the leads lying for your analyst, and accordingly you can advise them, mentor them, and you can do whatever you want with that kind of analysis at your hand. Then territory analysis, which territory is doing well, which territory needs more attention, which territory was doing well till now but suddenly it has stopped doing well. So what could be the reason? There could be so many reasons. Let's say I find out that Delhi was doing excellent till now, as a territory. Okay, Delhi is a very big territory. Let's say West Delhi was doing very well till now, but suddenly it has stopped doing well. So what could have gone wrong? So once you realize that, okay, West Delhi is not doing so well, then you will see, is there an entry of a new competitor? Maybe, a new product has been launched, or a new scheme has been launched by a competitor which you were not aware of, and suddenly, your customers are finding your products too pricey. Or else it could be that in this particular territory, there is some negative feedback because of some market complaints. Or it could be that your dealer who is supplying in this territory, that dealer has changed. The people were very comfortable buying with the earlier dealer, but they're not that comfortable buying with the I don't know, with the new dealer, the basic retail stores. They don't have that great connection with this dealer, so he's not able to push your products to the retailers now. So that is the kind of deep diving you can do once you start somewhere. Then you can do sales reps analysis, as in which of the sales reps are getting more revenue, which sales rep is good at what. It could be that one particular sales rep has better relationships with certain accounts or certain territories, and is able to do well in certain areas and not able to do well in certain other areas. Or it could be that he is very good at handling key accounts, but he is not good at developing new markets. So you can analyze the performance of each sales rep in your team to understand and strategize for the future. Then there could be a dealer performance analysis. So in dealer performance analysis, we could see which dealer is giving me more revenue, which dealer has more bad inventory stuck, which dealer is able to sell which type of product well. Let's say some dealers have connections with premium customers, so they are able to sell the luxury items very well, but they are not able to sell the fast moving, high volume, low margin items. And some dealers, they have a customer base which is kind of very price sensitive, so they are actually good at driving low margin, high volume products, but they're not very good at driving high margin, low volume product, because they are not able to give very premium services to the customer. So this is what you can do. Then there would be marketing campaign analysis. For example, you ran a campaign, okay, and You maybe gave some discounts, some offers, and now see, even if without the campaign, you would be making some sales, right? Let's say you make $100 every, okay, let's say you make, I don't know, 1 lakh rupees in profit, let's assume, in a particular small territory every month. Even if you did not do that campaign, you would still be making a baseline of 1 lakh per month, which you can get from your previous data. But now you want to know, with this campaign, am I making only 1 lakh again, or am I making 1 lakh 50,000? If you're making 1 lakh 50,000, then actually your marketing campaign is only responsible for that 50,000 extra rupees. So like that, you can understand which market campaign is doing well and which one is not. So you can try different type of campaigns. For example, you can check whether discounts work well, because it's not necessary that in every area discounts will work well. How much discount should I give, so that, because if you give discount, obviously you will make less money per product. So how much discount should I give if it is going to be compensated by a very great increase in volume? Then it makes sense. So what should be that break even, how much the trade-off between discount and volume, that analysis you can do. So this is, you can check the effectiveness of, let's say, okay, discount is one way, there are so many other ways. Like for example, I created a brand awareness. I pasted, let's say I put up posters on some particular metro station for 15 days. So has it increased my if not sales, at least has it increased my website visits, app visits? Has it increased my search results? So this is the kind of analytics you can do. Then top accounts. Okay, so we already had account management, but this is the top accounts. This is the analysis only for the, let's say, 20% of your accounts, which bring 80% of your revenue. So you can do a separate analysis for the only the top accounts. Then you can do an analysis of the calling team. So sales rep is different and sales calling reps are different. So the sales calling, you will have a team of telecallers, right, who will explain about, let's say, a credit card to people. So is it actually worth keeping such a team or not, because you obviously have to pay them salaries. So is it are you actually gaining anything out of it? You can very well see. So in, let's say, in maybe in tier 2 cities it might be working well. In tier 1 cities, let's say, people do not even pick calls of the sales reps. So you can easily understand, analyze the performance of this particular segment. The next day purchase. So this is very important for, let's say, e-commerce sites. So for example, today a customer comes to me. Now, when can I expect him back again? Will he come to my site after 30 days, or after, I don't know, maybe 15 days, whatever? Or does he shop from me every single day? And it might be even possible that he shops twice or thrice in one day. So accordingly, why is this important? Because let's say I know that after every 30 days, a particular customer comes to my site. But now I have seen it is the 31st day and he has still not come to my site. So I can run SMS campaign. I can maybe have a personalized scheme for that person on the 31st day, that, hey, this is the new discount that we have. So this will help you to optimize your SMS campaigns. If you every day, if a person is receiving SMS from your company, he will actually get irritated. So we need to decide the right frequency of SMSing, or maybe reaching out on emails and whatnot. So this analysis will help us to frame those strategies. Then customer segmentation. What is the type of customer who buys from me? For example, do young people buy from me? Do I don't know, entrepreneurs buy from me? Do people in jobs buy from me? Do people who are students buy from me? Why is this important? Because according to that only, my branding and value proposition would be there. For example, let's say my brand is sugar cosmetics, right? So let's say it is more identified with the teenagers. Let's say the the older, I don't know, the the middle-aged women, maybe they prefer Lakme or some other lipsticks. So my branding, as a if I'm sugar company, then my branding would be mostly focused on the teenage. So I will maybe uh, I will propose myself as a brand which is for the young and hip people and so on, right? So this is very important, and it is not necessary that I will have only one customer segment. I can have multiple. Let's say maybe okay, 70% of my customers are teenagers, and maybe 20% are middle-aged women, and maybe 10% are maybe I don't know, be more than 60 years old. So accordingly I will design my campaigns, and in different places my customer segment will be different. So accordingly I need to design and give offers accordingly. Then churn prediction is very important in, let's say, industries like telecom. So see, what happens in telecom, today I'm using Vodafone, tomorrow I can use Airtel and whatever. I mean, I can go to any brand, right? So I can just port my number. So it is very important for me, if I'm Airtel, to know what is the churn rate, how many people are actually leaving my system. Because if they are leaving my system, then I am losing out on a fixed revenue. So I have to stop it at any cost. If I think that how can I do this? I will study the characteristics of people who are likely to churn. Okay, so let's say, I don't know, maybe let's say 15 to 18 years of people, let's say, are most likely to churn. Let's assume, okay, this is just a vague assumption. So then I will do something. I will come up with new strategies to retain such people. I will come up with new offers specifically for this age group to retain them. Whatever. So there can, and age is just one variable, right? There can be so many things. Maybe, I don't know, the married people are more likely to churn. So accordingly I will give specific strategies. Once I know what is the cause of my churn, then customer lifetime value, I have covered it a little bit in detail because I wanted to cover at least one thing. So customer lifetime value is how much am I getting out of this customer, how much am I spending on him versus how much am I getting back. So this means if I spend, let's say, 2000 rupees, 2000 is a little big number. Let's say I spend 200 rupees overall, including the ads and everything. Let's say I spend that much money to get one customer. Okay, there I will be putting up ads on different media, and I might even be having special offers to for the first time users. If first time you come, then you will have a free plan, whatever. So this is my customer acquisition cost, right? So that cost will be there, and then versus how much money am I going to make. And how much money am I going to make is till this customer lifetime value can be let's say, it can be over the life, or it can be for a specific period. For example, I spent 200 rupees to get this customer, but over the lifetime, till the time that person doesn't leave using my product, how much am I going to get from this guy? Over the let's say I will get maybe 1000 rupees, let's say, over the lifetime. Then my customer lifetime value is 800 rupees, and so on. And this can also be defined for a particular time period. Over let's say I count my customer lifetime value as the initial cost that I spent on him, 200 rupees, and what am I going to get out of him in 1 year. Because this 200 rupees I have to spend every single year, because every single year I have to give ads, and the ads nature can change. When I acquire, I have to give different type of ad. First time customers, I need to make them aware of my brand, and for the next subsequent years, I have to give ads to retain those customers. I have to give ads about my offers and so on. So this is completely, this will depend from company to company how you will define customer lifetime value. But overall it is how much am I getting out of this guy. That's what it basically means. Loyalty programs, this is nothing but, you know, I let's say, you would have seen, right, in malls they will give you this loyalty cards and all, that if you will get points and you know, you can redeem these points. So what is the success of this loyalty programs? You know, if I am giving out those cards, has the customer retention actually increased or not? Because you know, because this card I might be giving it for free, right, to those people, but it will cost me something to maintain this card, to, you know, maintain the data in my warehouse, whatever. So it will cost me something, right? So is this worth or not? And is it worth more in some places and not that worth in some other places, and so on? Product mix is nothing but which type of products should I have. For example, I will tell you, for example, you know, I am like, I worked in a company which basically we had some FMCG products. Okay, so what products should I sell? Let's say I have 1 lakh SKUs. Okay, now the problem is maintaining these many SKUs. You will have to have dedicated people also. Then, you know, there are so many things, right? For every SKU, you have to have so many. You have to have vendor relations and so many things, right? Now I think that, okay, out of these 1 lakh only, you know, hardly the, let's say, 20,000 SKUs are the ones which are giving me profit, more profit, and others are almost either in loss or they are not giving me that much profit. So you will have to clean up your product mix from time to time. You know, earlier maybe something used to sell, but now it is not selling. So it is of no use, right, that I keep on pushing things which people don't want in the market. And it might be that people now want something else. So I actually need to change my product mix from time to time. So this is just a basic dashboard. I mean, I have just put it here to just to you know, make you understand. So basically, see, this is a sales dashboard. You can select the company as in, let's say you have UK company. Now one company will also have different multiple entities many times, right? It will be also there in UK, USA, China, this and that, whatever. So you can select you know, and you know, in different places the company will be named differently. So like that, you can select that company, you can select the year, you can select country and whatever, some dimensions, sales people, item, category. This is nothing but SKUs, product groups. And then you can basically, you know, whatever you will select, right, this chart will change according to the selection. So these are called as interactive dashboards. Okay, why am I showing this? Because all this information that you see now, for making decisions, you first need the data. You first need some supporting data, right? Because I'm sure you are CEOs of MSMEs and all. So you would have a person, maybe an analyst or somebody basically, who would actually be telling you that these are the numbers, and now you take a, you know, final call. This is what I feel, this is what the data says, now you decide. So how will you see that data? That will be through, mostly through dashboards. Okay, I am very proficient in machine learning also, but I really do not see the application of it. It's hardly like, I don't know, 5-10%. Most of the analysis is still done on dashboards. Okay, so dashboards can be dashboard is nothing but what you see here. Okay, so it is just telling me how is my sales looking like, how is my profit looking like, country wise, SKU wise, item wise, and so on. Okay, now I have just, you know, taken one single example, because I don't think we can go in depth of each and everything in, you know, the time frame. So I just thought of deep diving in just a single topic, not deep diving, but just a basic overview. So for example, you have to calculate the customer lifetime value, right? So it's nothing but total gross revenue minus total cost. So what you do now, for total cost, you know, right, how much did you know, spend on ads and all. Mostly it will be ads. It can also be, if you, like I told you, you are giving a free scheme. You know, if you join for the first time, you will be getting 300 off or whatever. So that is also your cost of acquisition. So all those costs you add, okay, in this cost section. And this has to be for, let's say it is for 1 year. Okay, so whatever cost I incurred in 1 year, I will add here. Okay, and then you will add the total gross revenue. Now how will this revenue come? I'm just giving one example, you know. how we go deep. It's not like you will directly get the revenue of a person, right? You will not get it directly. So now revenue can also be defined in so many ways. Are you only talking about the monetary value? Let's say I made 1,000 rupees from this guy in this year. That is the monetary value. Okay. But what if he only came once in a year? He never came after that. He only visited once and he shopped for 1,000 rupees. Okay. So fine. So that is a monetary value. Now there is another person, another customer who came to my site 10 times, and every time he bought for 100 rupees. But so again his this gross revenue is also 1,000 rupees, but he has come to my site 10 times, right? And he has also come very recently to my site. But this guy, 1,000 rupees, the person who spent 1,000 rupees only once on my site, he came to my site, let's say, maybe in the beginning of the year, and he has never ever come after that. So which customer is more valuable for me? A customer who has all these parameters sorted, like a person who has very recently transacted, who has transacted many times, and who has also transacted like money wise also he has spent some money. Why I am saying so is because a person who has shopped at my website for 10 times, even if it is only for 100 rupees, I still I have more scope of increasing that 100 rupees to 200 rupees. So every time, instead of spending 100 rupees, he can spend 200 rupees. I can give him offers, I can do whatnot. But a person who has only come to my site one time, it might be that he will never ever come back to my site again. So I wouldn't, spend my money on showing ads to that person who is only coming one time. Even if he would have spent 2,000 rupees, right, and he just came once, I would still not waste my money on advertising on him. So this is only telling me, lifetime value will tell me which customers are more valuable. Where should I spend more money on? So that is what it is going to tell me. The most valuable customer will be one who has a very high lifetime value. So how will you get this gross revenue? I mean, you can directly take monetary value also. It's up to you. But what I have done so far in the companies, what we do is we give a score. Okay, for let's say for recency we will give some score. I don't know, maybe out of 100 we will give some score. Okay, then frequency also we will give some score out of 100. Monetary value also we will give some score. Okay, maybe 1 lakh and above is 100 score, and so on, right? We will have some buckets or something. Cost also we will give some score. Okay, so and then we will add all these scores, and finally we will have a gross revenue score, and we will have a cost score, and then we will subtract and we will get a lifetime value. This is not the only way of calculating lifetime value. Okay, so there are multiple ways. People simply calculate gross revenue minus total cost also, but like I told you, this will not give you the correct picture, because this will not tell you which person has transacted more often and more recently. So you need to basically understand which model you will use to finally arrive at your most valuable customers. So this is just one basic example which I gave you of one use case of analytics. There can be so many others. So I mean, I have this is what I have. Any questions? Or
This question, Shelja, will take after
okay, sure.
completion from all speakers.
Yeah.
So we will have one-to-one questions between speakers and audience.
Sure.
So okay. So thank you so much. I think within a couple of slides you have shared a lot of stories behind the data. So now I am pleasure to inviting Mudit for my as a next speaker. Over to you, Mudit.
Thank you, Pankaj for inviting us to speak on this forum. I hope you can all hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen, and thanks, Pankaj, once again for creating these kind of sessions. These are really bringing value add for not just the people or the viewers, but also for the speakers. And with this, I'll just share my screen, and please let me know once you can see my screen.
Yeah, we are able to see.
Okay. All right. So increasing sales through business analytics. So if I talk about a quick agenda, what I will be covering today is some general talks on data analytics. I will not bore you, I promise. And then we'll talk about some industry trends and insights from industry analysts or the analyst reports. Then we talk about what analysis or what kind of matrices we measure for data analytics in sales. My previous speaker, Shalja, very well took most of them, but I have my own version as well. I'll not go into details. And then we talk about how we can start, or how we generally start the data analytics journey, which is rather easier. And then we talk about the strategies to adopt better sales analytics, and then the way ahead, like the tech stuff, the technology like AI, ML, which are actually the enablers for this data analytics in the long run. With this, I will start with a statement. Just a minute. Yeah. With this, I will just start with a statement. Data is the new oil of this age, and analytics is the engine that is converting it into the energy. I think everyone would agree to this, but this oil is not which is limited, and this is actually increasing on day-to-day basis, or every second it is increasing. So we are very fortunate that we now have tools to capture that data, and we are now building the tools to convert that oil into energy. We are data billionaires. The second statement I would like to say is we are data billionaires, but analytically we are bankrupt, or we are very poor, or we are not able to pay back with banking on that data. Some of you may say that why we are calling us bankrupt, because we have huge data with us. Some of us, I know we have a list of MSME peoples here. So in MSMEs, we have data, customer data, organization data, competitors data, but if I ask a question, how many of us are using it diligently? May not be everyone would be using 100%. Even the large organizations, global organizations are also not able to capitalize on that 100%. And analytics is not the way to do business. It actually creates the opportunities to sell more, sell efficiently, sell in a manner that they bring more value add to not just the business, but also the customers, to also the consumers, and to also the employees. I'll give you this view from one analysis of a company which is selling ballet shoes. So if you see, this is obviously based on a lot of data and analytics. If you see, the company is creating, or the company is having 10% of its cumulative value in some non-value added activities, or non-value added features of the products, like the shiny buckle, or the external branding, leather upper, or premium packaging. But that is that is actually taking up 25% of the cost. And if I need to increase my sales, maybe that's a good strategy to cut down on these 10% of features, which are only 10% of the actual product, and reduce 25% of the cost, or maybe partially, if we do it 20% of the cost or 15% of the cost, and pass it on to customers. That's one way of looking at it. Another view, if I could give to you, this is an organization which is taking its data and analyzing it on the comparison of winning deals versus the lost deals. So if you see from the target price, the average discount which was quoted in the deals which they won was 17%. But surprisingly, it was 20% in the deals they lost. So it gives a real insight that discounts are always not leading to sales. that's just a view. Obviously there are many variables, there are many things, industry specific, sector specific, so we are not going into details, but we are just seeing what is the power of analytics and dashboarding. So with these two slides I wanted to show you that. In the next section, I would like to just run through these interesting predictions or interesting analysis about the industry as a whole. IDC, which has put forward. So they are saying by 2021, we will have cross-functional decision-making capabilities in 75% of the enterprises, which will be using external data sources. So internal data sources is something which is quite prominent, which is easily available, but external data sources, because now we have loads of data and easily accessible. 2023, IDC says that we will adopt a data supermarket strategy, because we will have tools to govern that data. We will have tools to manage that data well. So it's all future looking predictions based on real insights from many organizations. So by 2023 itself, we will have data ops. We have been talking about dev ops, but now data is the new oil. So I would say data ops is obviously coming in. Uh, Headless analytics, another buzzword. We all know robotic process automation, AI-based robots or chatbots, and automations in every industry is is getting traction these days. So headless analytics is one of those things that we will have real-time decision-making capabilities in our analytics engines. I'll just touch upon this thing in the later slides. And by 2024, 70% of enterprises will have real-time actioning. So it is coming, and it will come over the time that they will test it, and then we will have real-time actions based on IoT, my friends. So if you have heard of it, IoT stands for Internet of Things, and all technologies integrated: IoT, data analytics, automation, robotics, everything is converging together in these days. I will also talk about this, and I have a nice case study to talk about with IoT things as well. And since we are here in the MSME forum, you see that by 2025, IDC says 30% of the small businesses will adopt cloud native data driven apps that will intelligently adapt to the behaviors and need of the business. So 2025 is not very far. It's just 4 years from now. I think we should all pull up our socks and start preparing for that. With this, I will just try to show you a long list of sales analytics or sales matrices which companies have been measuring over the years, and this list is growing, and many of these are useful to many people at across the levels in organizations. So I'll not go in details, but I've bucketed them into sales activities like the pipeline, lead generation, outreach, pricing. But if I talk about four broad areas cutting across these buckets, so first is sales planning. Sales planning obviously makes a lot of sense in B2B sales. When we have to start the year, we need to uh, take a look at our customer base, at our competitor base, and we need to do that analysis with the available data. So spreadsheet, the days of doing that sales planning at the starting of the year with spreadsheets is over. We need, and I will be brutal to say that it's over. We should not be using manual things here. So sales planning is definitely coming in big bang way with connected technologies. With connected technology, I mean with connected apps. Every sales rep, every sales leader, the marketing team, the sales team, the production team, or if you are in a service organization, the customer service people, they all converge that data and plan and are very well part of the sales planning. And that is very much possible with the help of these converging technologies. Second area is pipelining and forecasting. I'll give you a good example of pipelining. Uh, Again, in B2B sales, I would take that example. So most B2B sales organizations have sales life cycle ranging from a few steps, like 4 or 5 steps, to 9 or 10 steps in some organizations where they manage their sales. So as the sales lead progresses from just a lead to prospective sale and then to complete converted sale, sales reps follow that process. But very often it happens that people are not entering the right data at every stage of the sales. But when we converge this data with my backend system, with my leadership dashboards, and we have those dashboards converged together, and we create an environment where people are bound to enter the details into the system, into that system at every stage, then the sales leader can definitely be able to see the real-time analytics rather than just a sales rep entering a detail of a converted sale into the CRM once the deal is closed. Now, I think that's a very bad practice. Many organizations are doing a lot on this, but that's a very broad area: pipelining and forecasting. Third, I would say pricing and discounts. So again, this is if done in silos. For example, for a B2C sales, if I take that example, uh, discounts or prices, if they are managed into spreadsheets or into silos, people will not be able to, or the entire sales force will not be able to get a first-hand view. And if we need to do some uh, campaigns or run some special offers, every time we need approval from the higher management, or maybe some other approvals are required, or some other processes are required. If we do that pricing and discounting analytics with the real-time customer analytics, what the customer is asking, what the customer is liking, and then create my pricing algorithm around that data, we will be able to better align our pricing. We will be able to focus more on the products which are selling, and we will be able to focus more on products which are not selling. So that's also part of the pricing strategy. So that's one area. And the fourth and last area is customer success and post sales management. Definitely customer success means a lot, and here we are not requiring on the internal data. We are also requiring external data, what the customer is liking. We need to do, or the companies are these days, internet of behaviors, if you have heard, the companies are taking real-time social data of customers to run their campaigns along that area, along those customer success and post sales management campaigns. Next one. So we have talked about these areas, but building analytics capacity is easy, as I said earlier. But the challenges come while producing analytics, because building analytics, what it needs is you need to have data. Uh, Once you have data, and many of us do have data of our customers to start with, it doesn't matter where do we start, but we need a starting point. And then we need to create a working group that includes the data experts, the tech experts, and the business. Uh, by business, I would say, in case of sales, the sales reps who are actually feeding to the tech and the data team. And then we try out the technologies, we try out different teams, we do pilots and POCs, and start taking small steps to create the insights. And once the model is matured, we try to embed those analytics into my Salesforce and continuously perform the change management and the improvement. So I will not go deep into this. This is a straightforward way to start an analytics journey. We will talk about the strategies to do analytics in an organization. But before that, I have a poll for you. So if you all can go to menti.com and use the code 21245850 to do a small poll for me. I will just explain what I need. So on the slide, if you see, it's a 2x2 matrix, and we are analyzing our organizations on analytics competence versus the organization maturity. So from your organization, it doesn't matter if you're an owner or a director or a sales rep, wherever you fall in your organization, but from your organization point of view, where do you fall in terms of analytics competence? Are you at the lower side, you are doing everything in spreadsheets, manual analysis, you are just using the dashboards and reporting, or you are doing them at the medium where you have some tools and processes, or you are very matured with data driven decision making actually in place? And in terms of the maturity, where are you? Are you still in POCs and POTs, or you are actually creating small models, or you have a wide organization level implementation where all organization teams are on board the system? So I'm opening the poll for you now. Please do posts. I think already people have started answering these. That's really nice. I'll just take few seconds and then I'll show the results. Okay, I think I will not waste much time here. I will show the results. Let me just switch to Zoom and share my full screen now. Can you all see my screen now?
Yes.
Cool. So, okay. So average, it's a good spread. I would say some people are quite matured. Some people are towards the medium range. That's a good insight to see that there's a lot to do. We are at least started to do some pilots. We are doing some analytics. We are not in a manual mode anymore. That's good to see. However, with this, I would say that, or ask the questions to you, have you started doing these analytics or into a predictive fashion? Have you started doing predictive analytics, or these are just dashboards? And I will come to that in the later slides. But with this, I will move next. And switching back to the presentation. Yep. So challenges come while producing analytics. I'll put it into four buckets: the data, analytics, tools and technology, and people. People is integral part of my analytics journey, and you will know why I'll just touch on these small bubbles. So first is start using whatever is available. As I said, we need to start somewhere and start with whatever data you have. You should be starting with whatever data, but try to clean it up first and then start with what is available and already integrated. So if I'm a salesperson, I may have only customer data, but I would also like to know data of products and offers from different platforms, from different teams in my organization, like marketing team, the product team, the service team. So if that is integrated very well. Second, focus on the objectives. Many people I've seen, when they start using the data, they are lost in data. Don't get lost in data. Focus on the objectives. Define those objectives. Define where you want to go, what are your challenges, why are you doing that analytics, and then go about that analytics. So your data needs should be inclined around your analytics needs. That's one of the way to look at it. And focus on use case more than data, the same thing which I talked about in the earlier bubble. Tools, so access and then build a platform which is fit for purpose. Don't go, I know many organizations have big IT budgets and they try to say, okay, I'll float an RFP and vendor will come in and we can have a very nice fancy platform. But before going into platform, take a step back, especially for MSEs, SMEs, because we are people, we need to take cautious steps. So take step by step approach, try to do pilots. These days we have many cloud based platforms available. We can do some trials and then start investing into some of those which are fit for purpose. Then people create a unified product team. So friends, if I'm creating a data analytics platform, or if I'm creating a data analytics capability, this is very important that I have an inclusive team. We have need to have a team mindset. I cannot just ask my IT to create analytics for my sales team. It need to include sales reps, it need to include sales leaders, and it need to include the data people and the technology team, all of them together to build that platform and the model, because the insights will come from sales, data will come from the data person, and the tech team is working to enable those insights into a platform. And as my previous speaker showed that dashboard, so those dashboards are, if you look at them, they look very fancy, they are very easy to use, but unless this team is working, or is this team is high performing, we will not have those kind of good dashboards for us. Create the sales analytics that the sales team really needs. So here, if you see, sales team is a mix of two things. Sales team or the sales reps are the ones who are closest to the customer, so they know actual customer. So in the previous one, when I was saying that we need to have a inclusive team, so this team need to have a continuous feedback from my sales team. Sales team will know about customer, sales team will know about everything which are not known, which may not be registered into my databases. So this is a key connection here. Then do not go by data, or do not go by gut. Promote the data driven sales culture. Once we have set up the analytics, and this is a journey, so we will not have correct analytics. For instance, if I say that pricing, and uh, I'm taking pricing analytics into consideration, i will not be I will not be productive from day one. We need to go with data. We need to create a culture where it is data driven, so that over the time it matures, sales team is equally involved, and they should feel that they are providing or they're contributing to that model, which is for their benefit. Helps them trust the data. And go digital. This is key. My sales team, which is always on the ground, it depends on company to company, jobs and industry to industry, but sales team need to be near to the customer, but at the time they have to be digital. If they need data with the just a flick of that hand, they need to have that. I remember a scenario where in my previous organization, we created a very quick hack for my HR people. If they need to know how many people resigned, or how many offers were dropped in last month, they don't need to go into spreadsheet, apply filters and something. They just ask Alexa on their phone, hey Alexa, how many people dropped the offers in last month? So that kind of digital I'm just talking about. It's not just on the users, it also on the data. So we need digital is the key, and make it easy. So as we saw the dashboards in the previous session, dashboards and reports, they should be super easy to see. Otherwise, salespeople will lose interest. And data hygiene, that is very important. We have, as I said, we have lots and lots of data. We need to have a separate accountable person who should be responsible for managing the data, cleansing that data and managing it. So and we also saw that in IDC report that data governance and data ops is the next big job opportunities for people in data. Focus on change management. Now change management is very important, since we are now getting into data analytics, predictive analytics. Change management for the people who are using it at the front end is very important. Otherwise they will start losing it. So give an example, pricing. Currently in an organization which is not using predictive data analytics for pricing, those pricing managers would be just doing that pricing management in some manual tools or spreadsheets. But when we have that data inclusive or data enabled platform, they will not be required to manage those spreadsheets. They will be required to create the strategies and feed the data to that platform. Feed the data doesn't mean that feeding the data as a database analyst, but feeding the data or the insightful data to platform so that the algo is tuned to the best of the outputs. So that change management is required from day one. Otherwise, the people will get redundant and they will feel that this system is not working for them, especially for the small businesses. And use the analytics for personalized capability building. So we need to understand data analytics for sales is one side on just having the sales data, the marketing data, uh, customer data, behavioral data, all of those things. But it is also on the sales leaders who are managing the sales team, be it B2B or B2C. The analytics has to be created on capability building. There was a report from, I don't remember, from Deloitte or someone, some analyst reports that in global organizations, the top 30% of sales reps, they outperform the bottom 30 by a factor of 4. So if you see that those 30% who are underperforming, they're bringing 1/4 the revenue of those top 30. So we need to bring that data of those interactions of these sales reps, their behaviors, their way of working, and then create the personalized trainings to uplift those 30%, to bring that to the upper side of the table and grow them organically for my sales in growth. So that's kind of a indirect sales growth, but very important to retain the competency. So way ahead, I've talked much about data. Now we talk about analytics and how and why it is important. So we all know these are the buzzword: machine learning, AI, automation, blockchain, IoT. Let's look at this report by Deloitte. If you see this, it's a journey from 2010 to 2011. And if I talk about just data analytics and artificial intelligence, it's been a journey over a decade. The machine learning was coming, the industrialized analytics was coming, AI fueled organizations. But all this has led to now in 2021. And why 2021 is now important? Because we already have ML ops set up. We have industrialized artificial intelligence platforms. So we have the infrastructure ready to start going on that journey. We have the revolution today. And why do we need it in sales? It's evident from this report from McKinsey. If you see, although the supply chain management and manufacturing are the front runners in cost optimization when they apply machine learning and AI, but sales team and their brothers and sisters in product and service development, they lead the stack in revenue increment. So if I apply machine learning and AI, my direct and the best impact is on marketing and sales from this report, as you see, and this is from McKinsey, that revenue increment comes directly from sales and marketing with the best numbers. So definitely AI and machine learning is the way to go. Now, I end with a case study and why I am saying that machine learning and AI are the way to go. There's a company in US which manufactures heavy equipment trucks. Let's see, there's a truck which is on board with IoT sensors and tracking systems, and it is connected to the control center with the real-time tracking. So all of these sensors in various body parts and various parts of this entire vehicle are feeding data to this engine. So all of, I mean thousands of these engines and vehicles are feeding data to these data engines in the control center, and the owner is also connected. What it does is it does predictive analytics for a failure of body parts. So for example, there's a part which is about to fail or has failed but can run for a few kilometers. It does a predictive analytics and inform the owner, identify which are the nearest workshops, direct the vehicle to that workshop, create a service ticket, brief the mechanics about the problem, and confirm the part availability, and then accordingly send the vehicle to that nearest workshop. Benefits, and you must be thinking why I'm talking about this into a sales presentation. The benefit is value adding service, which is including the customer lifetime value, CLV. It is increasing the customer relationship. It is decreasing the customer churn. A customer is getting more loyal, increased cross selling, and products and service that directly, and in automobiles it is the a major chunk which increase the sales, that is getting increased. So indirect application of ML and AI impacting a lot to sales. This is kind of a case study with which I would end. Uh, if you have any questions, we will take this in session, but that menti.com link is open, and on the next slide, using the same code, you can submit your questions and I can answer them separately after the session as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mudit. I think you have shared so many perspectives. So that is really very, very nice. Now I invite to our next speaker, Anirudh. Anirudh, over to you. Anirudh,
You're on mute, Anirudh.
Anirudh, let me check. Okay, he has some problem. Yeah. Anirudh, your video is off. Anirudh, your video is off. Please on your video. Yeah.
Anirudh, you can join again. Maybe you have not joined with audio. So even though you're not on mute, it's not audible.
Okay. So now, Anirudh, let's take a pause, and now I will invite to next speaker, Aprajita, who will share, more of this session as a strategy perspective. She is an expert in strategy. So you know that is the sales and strategies have a lot of linkages. So she will share her thoughts from this perspective. Aprajita,
Yes, perfect, sir. That makes
yeah,
perfect sense. Till
over,
Aniruddha joins it.
over to you. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, sir. Thanks, Pankaj sir, for always, organizing these kinds of sessions, which are very vital. And when we come together, analyze and ponder over these kind of topics, and such brains coming together, bringing a lot of nice insights. It's always a good brainstorming, good perspective that comes across. So thank you, first of all, for organizing these sessions and inviting me over here. So today, we all have been talking about sales, how to increasing of sales using analytics. And my take here, as a strategy perspective, or as a strategy consultant here, is how sales can be utilized using data analytics to incorporate in a strategy, so that our business, our perspective, our ideology grows together. So before getting into, I could see that, my co-panelists, Shalja and Mudit, they have already covered a lot of topics in detail with the slides and presentation. Today, I personally don't have a slide for you guys, but I would bring across some of the strategy perspective quickly, how to do that. So now when we say, what is sales? Sales is everything. Sales is business, sales is growth, sales is revenues. Sales is the most important thing which drives the business, which is all the more important. Now, when we talked about different kind of data analytics or the analytics, now quickly first dissect this word. What is business analytics? Now, business analytics is the process by which businesses use statistical methods. These uses technologies for analyzing historical data in order to gain a new insight or improve strategic decision making. So now when we dissect the concept behind it, and like my co-panelist Shailja or Mudit, they explained it so well. And trust me, Mudit, I was so impressed with that Minty tool from where you could show us a lot of smart tools and lessons and how we were doing. That's such a smart way. That's also a way of analytics. Now, one of the things that I think here we need to add is there are, when we say how we incorporate these analytics in our strategy concept to grow business or to increase revenues, we have to understand there are 4 types of analytics that we do. Right? I think Shailja touched upon those points, but let's just number them and talk about them. Descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analysis, right? So these are 4 kind of analysis or data analytics that we do using a lot of tools that's there. Uses different kind of tools which they are comfortable with, from as simple as R, Python, Cosmos, whatever it is, whatever they are used to, or the complicated AI, ML, the buzzwords that everyone has been talking about. Also, when we talk about these pipeline analysis, forecasting and tools, all these would fall into either of these 4 analysis. Either they are describing what has happened, you are analyzing the historical data, that is descriptive analysis. You are diagnosing what has happened, what has gone wrong, why the sales has why the pipeline has a breakage out there, right? That is the diagnostic, so that you don't slip through anything from your perspective. Predictive, if you are expanding your business, if you are building tools, when we get into the strategy concept, when we are building, when we are growing, when we are looking into how things would look, say, for example, in next quarter or next to next quarter, if we have to build those models, unless we have these blockchains or the pointers which could help us predict the forecasting tools, we would fall flat on our strategy. We would fall flat on our business strategy. We would fall flat on our growth or corporate strategy as well. At the end of the day, these are all related. Sales revenue badhane ke liye, when we look into analytics, the matchmaker in this marriage is the strategy. The strategy or the plan that gets into it, that is what would sail through the entire thing. That's where what we do is the predictive analysis. Now, prescriptive is again what we to achieve a certain number. Say, for example, a target number, a revenue number, client size, fragmentation, whatever. That's what we would plan in a strategical manner. That is what would be the prescriptive analytics, right? So these are these are the 4 segments of the data analytics that we do. Anything and everything, whatever dashboard, whatever smart analytic tool you make, they would either fall in these 4 strategical bucket. That's the take to it. Now, when we say strategy, what is a strategy? Basically, a strategy is a plan that we build, right? A strategy is a plan to achieve something. Now, we have all these data points, we have all these models, we have all these analysis. Now, let's start building. And that is where we as a MSME segment, we as players into the micro, small and medium enterprise segment, once we incorporate this model, once we start using these data analytics, that's how we would grow. And that is where we would get into the MNC concept. Because the growth, slowly the organic, we would start growing organically with the basis or foundation of these things. And that would lead us from a MSME currently to an MNC. That is what the growth objective, or that is what the bigger perspective is for the entire Atmanirbhar Bharat concept, right? So we can utilize all these tools. It's not that these hi-fi words, heavy jargons, or tools and technologies are just for, you know, the bigger MNC players. No, even at smaller level, even at, you know, the minutest of level, we can incorporate all these to grow, to transform ourselves from a MSME to an MNC. Now, to bridge these gaps, or to bridge these revenue sales projection to the business plan, whatever dashboards are we creating, what all they can do for us, what all they can be utilized in the strategical concept. I would briefly talk about 7 or 8 of them. What are these? They can help you strategize or predict your consumer buying behavior. The moment we understand, the moment we see the methodology, the moment we see the pattern of consumer buying behavior, and like Shailja and Mudit, they were talking about, you know, you can build a lot of perspective. So now with that pattern, you can incorporate in your strategy what should be your growth pattern, what should be your areas where you would expand, what should be your product diversification, what should be your geographical diversification, how and where to put your investments, right? So utilizing that number into the growth strategy. That's the first thing when you understand your customer buying behavior. Second, it would help you identify what are your strong and weak products. The moment we start doing these analytics, it would help us, you know, like the concept of BCG metrics, where we identify which are the fastest growing, or the star, or the cash cow, those kind of model, which have the highest market share and which has the highest potential to grow. So now when we know which is our strong product, which is our weak product, basis that, we would again get back to our strategy drawing room or drawing board and see now which has to be, which business unit or segment has to be looked into more, and which we can neglect. Okay, this is not doing well, right? So we would identify the strong and weak products and go to the market in a similar strategic manner. Third, again, people targeted about it, we would spot the slipping customers. Now there's two take at the strategical level here again. First, like my co-panelists, they were saying that if we take a look into the customer who would not be coming back again, or the repeat customer, we would not put time, energy, revenue on channelizing or putting ads for them. Okay, fair enough. That's one aspect to it. But at a strategical level, the other aspect to it, why is that there is a slip in those customer base? What we can do now to bring them back to us? Maybe some other value-added services, maybe some customer behavior, maybe there is a demand or something else that is pulling them. So that is another aspect which we can utilize to bring back to those slipping customers to us. That's again how we can relate these analytics, utilize the strategy, and enhance our revenue or sales projection. That is the third point. Fourth, we can monitor customer engagement with our company, right? This is how the loyal customer, the repeat customer basis, which we would give discounts and other things. Like, it is a well-established fact that 70% of the business always comes from 30% of the core or the bigger accounts. So now, when we know who is our loyal customer, who is our repeat customer, or the bigger chunk or accounts, we put a different kind of relationship, different kind of pricing for them. So again, that relationship analysis can also be based on these terms. Next, again, this point would lead to the next point of better segmentation. We diversify, we segregate, we segment which client, which customer has to be dealt in which manner. Again, we would have a one-on-one marking or a strategy to convert them, where we have to put in more energy, where we have to put in less energy, why which segment is not doing well. There could be different strategies to handle them. It's not one size would fit all. So again, that would help us make a different kind of strategy to generate revenues there. Also, now when we have segregated these segments, it would help us prioritize our pricing structure. Maybe like people were saying, maybe we can give discount to our loyal customer. Maybe somebody who is buying in bulk can be treated in a different manner, right? So once we segregate these, segment this would also help us optimize our pricing structure. So that brings us back to the same point of in the strategy room, that how to tackle or segment that customer or client. Now, last but not the least on the strategy point here, now basis all these segmentation analysis or the strategy that we have built together, we would automate task based on these data, that what's happening, what's getting into which segment, bucket or pricing, because automation is what would lead us for a higher efficiency. That's what these models, these analytics that we are doing together, building these dashboards or utilizing all these tools, AI, ML, bots, whatever has come up these days, those smart tools, they would help us automate a lot of data insight. And at just one look of the dashboard, we would be able to make decision. We would be able to prioritize and strategize a lot of things, which would help us gather plan to raise our business or revenues. So all these data, all these methodologies, whatever we use together in our data analytics to build either of these four aspects, they would help us bring back to create a better strategy to increase our revenue pattern. And that's the only way of growing together. So those were my small pointers how to build or marry these revenues analytics into the strategy part of it. And like everyone has said, we would be happy to take all these questions towards the end. So those were my pointers. Yeah.
Thank you, Aparajita. You know, without even a presentation, you have shared a lot of thoughts and perspectives from the strategy perspective. Thank you so much. Anirudh, are you ready? Anirudh? Anirudh, are you ready? Anirudh, I think there's some audio and video problem with him. Anirudh, are you ready? Okay. So I think we have to now some issue at his end. Now I received the message. There is some technical issue at his end. So I think we would miss him because he was having very good insights from the industry perspective. He's working with CarDekho. So that is, you are aware of that is an innovative startup working in comparison of various sailing decision towards, car that is influencing the sailing decision of car. But anyhow, so let's move forward. So I would now invite Dr. Mahendra Kumar, because our core of this program is MSME, that how MSME can benefit from analytics, for business analytics, because sales is a definitely a concern area for a lot of MSMEs. So how the MSME can use this, technology, use this growing area and increase and accelerate their sales. So I would now invite Dr. Armendra Kumar. Over to you, Dr. Armendra Kumar.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you to all participants, and thank you all speakers sharing wonderful analytics, insights to increase sales. Even I am working in IT MNC, but Mr. Jan has given me responsibility to represent MSME. So generally, a common perception about MSMEs is that they are way too operational focus. They are more focused on producing and selling, and they are not care about their growing analytical capability needs for judging their business performance, right? So even however, in this technology driven world, analytical skills will be more important than anything else, right? So that we already realize the importance of business analytics after listening our speakers today. So business analytics or data analytics capability within MSME will enable them to sustain themselves in a competitive market. So I agree with the broader objective of today's webinar, I appreciate the way it is mentioned in the program flyer, transforming MSMEs into MNCs. And with this thought, there is importance of today's topic, increasing sales through business analytics. Very much relevant for MSME, and we have seen our speaker has mentioned, very wonderful speakers today, has mentioned in their presentation how business analytics can help to improve sales. But there are another areas of business analytics. I mean, other than focusing on sales, I see there is customer and product. And these two, customer and product, basically with the source of sales. We produce product and we sell to customer, right? And then we generate sales. So CPA and PPA, I'm talking these two terminology, CPA and PPA, customer profitability analysis and product profitability analysis. They're also required much attention within MSME sectors, right? So being from finance background and working in IT MNCs, I will give some brief about these two areas, CPA and PPA, customer profitability analysis and product profitability analysis. That is where MSME has to focus, right? So now, MSME these days, the MSMEs, entrepreneurs, they are so caught up with busy, in the day-to-day operational activities or managing the business, but they often fail to plan or predict what the future may hold for them. They frequently lack confidence that analytics will improve their decision-making capability. In today's world, the secret of success for MSME or even for any organizations depends on right information or the right use of data helps the entrepreneur in making right decision in right time. The few examples we have seen, the few MSME, how they are transforming into MNCs. Examples, Indigo transformed itself using big data analytics from an entrant in Indian aviation industry into the sector leader now. Patanjali, they evolved from selling limited items to wide range of items, transforming MSMEs into MNCs now. You take the example of Krishi Jagran magazine, progressed from 1 language to 12 languages, including online subscription, and became the highest selling agri-rural magazines in India. So friends, business analytics plays an important role as how small and medium scale enterprises can extract the most from these analysis. The question arises, when you're accountant or accountant working in MSME, they close the books each month. They produce the result quarterly, monthly, yearly. But are you getting a true analysis of the profitability of products or profitability by customer? If not, your most crucial business decision may be misguided. So there is a growing need to analyze factors that impact profitability along with increasing sales growth. Customer and product both are important elements to generate sales. So business or MSME must prepare both product profitability analysis and customer profitability analysis to assist with increasing profits through managing low profit or loss making customers or products. And that's what the role of business analytics, right? And that's what we understand, listening to all the speakers, right? So how this call analytics helps, to understand the customer better, to understand even also important to understand the product better. Like there are multiple product line within a company producing not only single product, multiple products. So, and their company has multiple customers, right? So product analytics or customer analytics is also most important. So product profitability analysis, PPA, shows the products revenue, product cost, and product profits for each product produced and sold by an organization. Similarly, customer profitability analysis shows the revenue, cost, and profit of each customer of an organization. To understand business profitability, MSME or anyone also need to understand product and customer mix, right? The challenge is, though, it is that most companies lack the ability to track the major mix. Major mix, even like this is easier to track the sales, by customer mix, by product mix, but this is difficult to analyze profit by customer, by by product, because the data analytic capability within MSME is not that mature, and sometimes difficulty for allocation of overhead costs by each product, by each cost, right? And that way, where the in managerial accounting, in the concept of activity based costing, we have data that basically must align between activity by customer, activity by by product. So that way, when we have that level of maturity to align the data by activity, we can able to uh, calculate, uh, find out the profitability by customer, profitability by product. So the challenges though is that most companies lack the ability to track and measure mix. That's why, in particular, highly complex businesses, they may have multiple products in more customers, are often simply not set up their analyzing mix separated from price and cost. According to the 80-20 principle, that was very popular Pareto analysis principle, only 20% of product services that business provides are responsible for generating over 80% of total revenue and profit. Same with the data is also there, volume of data, right? But the only 20% data is relevant, right? 80%, I mean, this is so that way I understand business analytics, right? So the same applies to customer also, right? 80%, 80-20 principle for product or services, same for customer also. 80-20 principles applies to customer as well. The answer is found within business analytics. Organization investing in analytics were more productive, agile, and profitable. So a business, what is the business object? Business is run for profits. Everyone acknowledges that objective. However, the absolute amount of profit is not the sole metric to focus on. End of the day, most of the SMEs, most of the MSME, they understand, okay, they invested this much of money and they are generating 20% of profit, 50% of profit, 30% of profit. But this is not the way you can transform MSME into MNC, right? When you're transforming MSME into MNC, then we have the more wider market for competition. So company need not to just increase market share, they also grow sales, but to grow profitable sales. That's what. So we have tons of data about our customer, and we analyze and present, right? It correctly. It can be powerful tool to increase profitable sales. Within any given customer base, there will be differences in the sales customers generate for the company and in the cost the company has to incur to secure those sales. Sometimes, you can see, we are generating the same sales in comparing to within two customers, but the selling cost is different. And that way, if you see, customer-wise profitability is different. So while most companies will know sales by customer, but many companies are unaware of all costs associated with customer relationship. So this is important here to develop analytics in understanding and analyzing customer profitability and maintaining and increasing customer profitability and turning unprofitable customers into profitable ones. So that way, CPA, customer profitability analysis outcomes, They do not only help account manager make decisions about pricing and service levels, it also aids in them in allocating the time of sales team to customer where profit is highest. So that way, the need of the time, the focus on CPP. Now, this basically this to stimulate this new profit thinking instead of existing volume thinking, right? This business insight through analytics will help MSME to establish all customer in classification. Like, this is the platinum customer, these are the gold customer, these are the lead customer. So these are the, within the customer pyramid, So that way the focus attention by of the companies, by gold, by platinum, by iron, by lead, that way, these days, MNCs or any well organized company is focusing, this customer pyramid. So customers can be served according to their tiers, increase profitable sales, and it can also be used to reward teams and individual on the basis of profit and profitable growth instead of on sales growth alone. The most of the times, the KPA or bonuses for sales team based on volumes. But but I recommend based on profitable sales. That is most important, right? So CPP helps assign the costs and revenues to different products and customer helping identifying the profitable and loss making ones. This also helps in retaining customers. Yeah. Sorry, there's something. Yeah, identifying the profitable and loss making ones. This also helps in retaining customers as programs are put in place to retain the most profitable ones, hence resulting in customer satisfaction and loyalty. So CPA, customer profitability analysis, analyze the key revenue and cost drivers, resulting in better decision making, thus moving away from focus on only revenues and volume figures. Now coming to product profitability, the product profitability compares individual products to one another from a post-allocated perspectives. So viewing product margin from this perspective allows company to accurately see product profitability or product line profitability and how it comes to another products or product lines. So this helps a company or MSME to gain a more accurate pictures of how products are contributing to the overall net margin of the net margin. So these all about CPA, customer profitability analysis, product profitability analysis. This kind of analytics help MSME to grow faster and more successful. So in the past, like business intelligence was a privilege for large company. There was companies, bigger companies who could afford to maintain teams of IT specialists and data analytics or data scientists. But in the last decades, it as the way the technology has developed rapidly, the software has now, the what Mudit has mentioned, cloud-based software, right? Power BI. There are multiple softwares are available. Not only more lightweight and powerful, but also more accessible. So that way, the small companies, the small businesses can use the same tool as main market players and face their competitors. This is all about from my side. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Win. I think you have just turned around the direction of the table. We are focusing only on increasing sales, but you are absolutely right that apart from increasing sales, the enhancing the profitability is equally important, and it is not in any way is lesser important. Thank you so much, Dr. Mendra, to sharing a wonderful perspective that apart from increasing sales, we have to increase our profits as well. So thank you so much. So now,
Yeah,
now
thank you, sir.
before I yeah now before I invite the participants and before I invite the house open for the questions, now I will take this pleasure to share the certificates of recognition for our speakers today. So first of all, I would like to share the certificate of the recognition for Shelja Gupta. Shelja, thank you so much for sparing time. Thank you so much for sharing insights, Shelja.
Thank you, Pankaj, for this great session.
Thank you so much, Shelja. Mudit, thank you so much. You shared wonderful insights. You in a very short time shared so many perspectives. Thank you so much, Mudit.
Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aparajita. You shared wonderful strategy perspective. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you, Dr. Armendra. You apart from touching upon our topic of increasing sales, you wonderfully covered the topic of increasing profitability as well. Thank you so much. So now I'm just putting the house open. I'm just stopping sharing the screen. Now I put the house open. Now anyone can ask the question. You just please raise your hand, or what I will do, I will just unmute all the participants. Let's do something. So now I have allowed all participants to unmute themselves. So you can unmute yourself and ask question directly to the speakers. Yeah. Are you able to unmute yourself? Because I have just unmuted all the participants. I hope you are able to unmute yourself.
Yes, Pankaji, can I say something?
Yeah. Sure, Ashutosh ji. Sure.
I don't have any questions, but I would like to share my experience because I have been working in a large scale company in a fertilizer unit. The way Shailja ji, Mudit, and Dr. Amrendra Singh have explained it in a very nice manner. But I feel we can further go into details whenever we want to analyze the data available with us. Dr. Amrinder Singh very rightly said that it can be analyzed into product profitability or customer profitability. But I feel if we want to go into the detail, there is no end to it. It can be what we do. We analyze the data in terms of territories. In the first place, it can be state-wise. If we want to go into depth, it can be further district-wise. Then when we talk about the customers, we can analyze the data according to the wholesalers that we have. We just kick out the wholesalers who are not performing well and retain the new wholesalers who promise to do well. Similarly, when we go into depth, we can have further retailer-wise analysis of data to further find out the data who are useful to the company, who are promising, who can increase the sale, and just kick out the ones whose sales is hardly in a couple of tons. So I feel that analysis can really be gone into depth. But frankly, I would like to confess that I am an old conservative way. The way Mudit has explained, I would like to learn further how it can be analyzed further into machine learning or whatever, which is definitely a new topic for the newcomers. The analysis of data is not a new topic. We used to do it manually. I started my career back in 1981. We used to do it manually, and then later on Lotus 123 came up. We analyzed the data in Lotus, which had only one spreadsheet. Later on Excel came up, which had multiple sheets in just one file. But now the way Mudit has explained, I feel myself outdated, which actually gives me a feeling that I have a lot to learn even at this age and stage. And I'm sure the newcomers would have a lot to learn from this data analysis, whatever Mudit has explained. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shailja also. Thank you, the other lady also, and Dr. Amrendra Singh.
Thank you, Ashutosh ji. Thank you, Ashutosh ji, for sharing.
Thank you, Ashutosh ji.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Participant who would like to share any thoughts, any questions, any insights, you can unmute yourself. Any participant? Okay. So I think our these speakers have not left any area where any doubt or any some gray areas there. So they have wonderfully covered all the perspectives and all the aspects very well. So now thank you so much, Shelda. Thank you so much, Anirudh. Although you tried your level best, so let's move.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Pankaj ji. Yeah, finally I'm audible now.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, facing challenges. Actually, it's been raining since yesterday a lot. So I think some network issue was there at that point of time.
Okay. So what I suggest is that we will definitely have your session in our one of our future programs. So if you can quickly, share your thoughts in 5 minutes, then you can share, because we have to close this session. We are going to.
Yes, that would be great. So I just share my experience with Karthik who recently, like I've joined it, and with Antics domain I have been working it like since 2014. So what I have seen, like there has been quite an incremental or exponential increase in the way what we have been started looking the data. Like it has different stages of Antics. Like what is uh, like it has started like from what is the problem. Now we have moved to stage where we are seeing like why we are facing these kind of problems, and we have moved to like the forecasting the things, like what is going to be like in future, if what are going to be my sales in coming future, either 3 years, 4 years. And I have seen like working with some of the healthcare companies, like they are predicting values till 2040, like how it is going to impact my sales when after post 20 years. So this is the like the exponential journey that we have seen in the analytics field. And we see like as Mudit have rightly mentioned, that Alexa tell me like what is going to be my retention for the employees in the coming future. So that is the level of antics that we have, that we are now seeing, that we can see what is going to be present in the future. And we it's a long journey, it's still a beginning, but we are pretty sure that in coming 5 years or 10 years we are going to see a very huge impact of data analytics. We see like a lot of small companies who are using very tools like Google Analytics, HubSpot, small tools, but they are able to like compete with the bigger MNCs in such a short span of time, because their decisions are more data driven. Their decisions are driven by facts, not by just the experience. And we have seen like a quantum shift in like a digital marketing or use of web internet in last decade. So it's going to be very much important if we are going to succeed, if it is going to be very much important for any company, be it an MNC or a small business or a startup, like how they could impact their using data analytics. So that is what I believe, and that is I have seen in my experience, and I believe that it is going to impact a much higher pace in coming future as well.
Thank you so much, Anirudh. So next time we'll have detailed discussion, because in this particular session we have allotted half an hour for you, because you have prepared something special for this session, but unfortunately we didn't get chance to have it. So better luck next time. So if any participant have any question, then definitely we can give him chance. You can unmute yourself or ask question directly to any speaker, or you can share your thoughts, or else within next couple of minutes we will close the session. Okay. So thank you everyone. Thank you again, once again, all the speakers, Shelja, Mudit, Anirudh, Aparajita, Dr. Armendra, and thank you participants for your patience, learning and active engagement and active participation. Thank you so much. So we have planned many such sessions down the line. We will keep you informing. Please stay in touch on various social media channels, and our participation is open for all. So there is no fee, no restriction, no pre-registration. So you can join comfortably. Thank you so much, and happy weekend to everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Pankaj. Thanks to all the speakers. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Pankaj.
Thanks, everyone.